As individuals express their life, so they are. What they are, therefore, coincides with their production, both with what they produce and with how they produce. The nature of individuals thus depends on the material conditions determining their production. The slave frees himself when, of all the relations of private property, he abolishes only the relation of slavery and thereby becomes a proletarian. The proletarian can free himself only by abolishing private property in general. The mode of production of material life conditions the social, political and intellectual life process in general. It is not the consciousness of men that determines their being, but, on the contrary, their social being that determines the capitalist mode of production and accumulation, and therefore capitalist private property, have for their fundamental condition the annihilation of self-earned private property, in other words, the expropriation of the laborer. The revolutionary power which will socialize the instruments of labor taken from the capitalist class, will have to mount guard over the general interests of society served by the socialized industries, and in particular over the interests of those directly engaged in them. We must not be like some Christians who sin for 6 days and go to church on the 7th, but we must speak for the cause daily, and make the men, and especially the women that we meet, come into the ranks to help us. Only when the great mass of workers take the keen and dependable weapons of scientific socialism in their own hands, will all the petty bourgeois inclinations, all the opportunistic currents, come to naught. The movement will then find itself on sure and firm ground. Quantity will do it. War unleashes, at the same time as the reactionary forces of the capitalist world, the generating forces of social revolution which ferment in its depths. Whatever is done we must do ourselves, and if we stand up like men from the Atlantic to the Pacific and from Canada to the Gulf, we will strike terror to their cowardly hearts and they will be but too eager to relax their grip upon our throats and beat a swift retreat. When, in the course of human development, existing institutions prove inadequate to the needs of man, when they serve merely to enslave, rob, and oppress mankind, the people have the eternal right to rebel against, and overthrow, these institutions. There are individuals a mere handful in the history of mankind who, while themselves being the product of an imminent catastrophic change, leave their mark upon an entire epoch. Vladimir Ilyich Lenin is one such giant mind, one such giant will. The revolution will move forward until its consolidation is total. The time is still far off when there can be a period of relative calm. And life is always revolution. It is only in revolutionary struggle against the capitalists of every country, and only in union with the working women and men of the whole world, that we will achieve a new and brighter future, the socialist brotherhood of the workers. Comrades, just as the earth, after a long drought, pants for rain, so the workers of the world pant for the end of the accursed war, for unification. This striving of the workers for unification is the greatest factor in world history. Anyone who doubts the inevitability of the dictatorship of the proletariat, as a necessary stage of its victory over the bourgeoisie, facilitates the conditions for the victory of the latter. Anyone who doubts or renounces the political party of the proletariat, is helping to weaken and disorganize the working class. The popular masses who want peace, freedom and bread must, in this period of dark onrush of events, always hold themselves ready to spring up as one man against every danger of new carnage and suffering threatened by the so heroic exploits of fascism. The practical task of a reconstruction of society may be correctly solved by the application of a scientific policy of the working class, i.e., a policy based on scientific theory. This scientific theory, in the case of the proletarian, is the theory founded by Karl Marx. The words socialism and communism have the same meaning. They indicate a condition of society in which the wealth of the community, the land and the means of production, distribution and transport are held in common, production being for use and not for profit. Our object is the economic freedom of the producing classes. This ultimate goal will be attained after a long and bitter struggle. Therefore, our primary task is to organize the masses and lead them in the struggle for economic freedom. Ending terrorism is our task. It is the task of us who fight for people's equality, for their rights and dignity. State terrorism will end by overthrowing terrorist states. Non-state terrorism must be eradicated by putting an end to the hardships, discrimination, exploitation and suppression that lead people to desperation and make them fall prey to reactionary and inhuman organizations. It can be eradicated by exposing religion, ethnicism, racism and any reactionary ideology, which has no respect for people. Our response is to fight for the creation of an open, free and equal society in which people, their lives, dignity and well-being are valued.